wherein consists the sinfulness of that state whereinto man fell. The answer, the sinfulness of the state wherein man fell, consisted in the guilt of Adam's first sin, the want of that righteousness wherein he was created, and the corruption of his nature, whereby he is utterly indisposed, disabled, and made opposite unto all that is spiritually good, and wholly inclined to all evil, and that continually, which is commonly called original sin, and from which do proceed all actual transgressions. So now, to divide our discussion, mga igsoon, let us divide the catechism into two sections. Now, the first section sa atong, or heading sa atong catechism, first, it deals about the spiritual condition of the sinfulness of man after the fall. Second is the cause of all actual transgressions of man after the fall. So there are two nga atong makita sa atong section. First of all is the spiritual condition of the sinfulness of man after the fall. So based sa atong answer sa catechism, the sinfulness of man's state after the fall is consisted with three spiritual bad condition. So first, atong isgutan karon sa atong subpoints, mga igsoon, under sa atong first heading. First of all, let us consider the first condition of man after the fall. First is that man is under guilt due to Adam's first sin. Second, man lacks his original righteousness. And third, man's nature is corrupted by sin. Why we participated the guilt of Adam's first sin? So this is the first question. The answer is because Adam was our representative. So what does it mean? Adam was our representative. He was our federal head under the covenant of works. How did the guilt of Adam come to us? Sa unsang pamaagi, or in what way we become guilty in Adam's sin? The answer is by way of immediate imputation. So what is the word immediate? Meaning without an external mediation, without considering time and space, nga mo effect lang ni siya once mataw ang bata. No. Immediate imputation, it means that as soon as Adam sinned, his guilt was immediately imputed to all his descendants. In other words, because Adam was the root of all mankind, therefore, the fruit of his guilt was immediately credited, counted, charged to all his descendants. So that was what it means by the word immediate. And this doctrine of immediate imputation, nagtudlo kini nga dili na nato kinahanglan ang child nga hulatan pa nato nga mataw siya, unya pagkataon niya, mugrow siya, and then kinahanglan siya maghimog actual sin para mahimo siyang sinner. No. Ang doctrine nagtudlo, ang immediate imputation, dili na kinahanglan nato nga ang bata, kinahanglan pa nato nga hulatan siya, nga mudako, nga mag-commit siya actual sin para mahimo siyang sinner. No, because the truth is, every child, even in the mother's womb, is by nature guilty and sinner. Meaning, that child, even sa tiyan sa iyang mama, is subject to hell, even though he did not commit an actual sin before his birth. We need to understand the twofold effect of Adam's first sin. Unsa day mga twofold effect held by the Puritans, or including Goodwin, Thomas Watson, also John Calvin. Now, first is the two effect of Adam's first sin. First is the imputed sin. Second is the inherent sin. Kay kasagalaan makadungog ta og original sin. Pero sa dihang makita nato kung imong basahon mga igsoon ang atong mga theologians, makita nato that there is a two distinct sins, the imputed sin or the inherent sin. What is the imputed sin? Imputed sin is the sin of Adam imputed to us that affects our standing before God, whereby we become guilty before God for judgment. So nag-affect siya sa atong standing. What is the difference between imputed and inherent? On the other hand, inherent sin is called inherent because all human beings have inherited the sinful nature of Adam, which affects our character. That is why nahimutang morally depraved. So, ang imputed sin affects our status, nahimutang guilty. Ang inherent sin affects our character. That is why nahimutang totally depraved. third spiritual bad condition of the sinfulness of man after the fall, aside from being under guilt and lack of righteousness, thirdly, is that man's nature is corrupted by sin. The sinfulness of the state wherein man fell consists in the guilt of Adam first. Second, the want of that righteousness, the lack of that original righteousness when he was created. Thirdly, and the corruption of his nature. Notice the word corruption. The corruption of man's nature is in the state of total extent, but not in total degree. Walang naka-remember ko sa giingon ni Pastor Jack sa among catechism before, nga we cannot exert as evil as we can be. Kabisan na gitawag nga total extent, kay na may restraining grace, na civil governments, nga kung na magbuhat ng dautan, ma-restrain. In other words, ang imong corruption, dili gyud makaabot to that extent degree nga ma-exercise nimo. But atong gigamitan, total extent ang corruption, meaning from head to foot, ang akong nature is in bondage of sin. What is the cause of all actual transgressions? The answer is the original sin. Now, unsa may pasabot sa original sin, mga igsuon? Makita nato nga gidefine sa mga theologians, original sin does not refer especially to the first sin of Adam, but to the state of that sin that affects all human race and is the origin of all other sins. So, origin of all other sin is the cause of all actual transgressions. Gitawag niya sa mga theologians, the seed of all forms of evil are in the heart of man. Nganuman, kay ang kanisya nga original sin, the throne of the original sin, the effect of the original sin, which is called original sin, lies in the heart of man. The heart of man is the throne of that original sin. Muna niingon si Jesus, because the heart is the source, the throne of all forms of evil. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 19, but what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. In other words, ang tanan nga ni outflow externally sa wicked acts sa tao, actual transgression, come from his inward. That is the heart, the core of the human being. Meaning, mauni siya central sa corruption sa tao. The heart, mga igsoon. That is why we need to fill our hearts with the Word of God, mga igsoon. We need to guard our hearts with the Word of God. We need ang atong kasing-kasing nga makontrol sa pulong sa Ginoo, mga igsoon. Why? Because the heart is the throne of the original sin, and from which do proceed all actual transgressions. Muna ningon si James, let no one say you are tempted because you are tempted by Satan, nor by God. No, God cannot tempt no one. But one is tempted because he is lured and enticed by his own desires. And that desire is rooted in the sinful heart, mga igsoon.